So I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, about last month, especially since last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. I thought it would be pretty poignant to put it out then. However, because of what happened a month ago, and me having to switch medications and adjust to new medication, I had no drive whatsoever to do anything. I've pretty much spent the last 2 weeks permanently in bed, spending at least 12 hours a day in bed, either just laying there or sleeping. So I have spoken in the past on this channel about my battle with depression. However, I've never brought up the near crippling anxiety that went with that, which was a constant. I pretty much used to get panic attacks, mild to quite severe, at least once a week. I was pretty much almost in a anxious state, where, if you don't know, with anxiety, a lot of the time it just feels like your body there's just constantly something not right. And this culminated in the worst panic attack I have ever experienced about a month ago, so just about the beginning of May, which actually landed me up in the emergency room, as you can see over here. And the only reason I took that picture was because I was high as fuck. Basically, the medication I usually take when I get to a point where I can't control my anxiety anymore, where it starts going to the range of me having a panic attack, wasn't working. And that photo was taken in the emergency room when they'd given me 5 to 6 times the normal dose I'm used to taking, so I was just not on, and I was not here altogether. Like my head, I was constantly drifting when I took that picture. So I didn't take that picture for fun or for clout or anything like that. I was literally just high as fuck and took it, and it kind of came in handy also just to let people know that I was okay, because if I was able to take a picture, then it wasn't that bad. So with all the stuff happening, the night it happened was like any other normal night. I was literally just sitting at my PC, playing some games, and out of nowhere I started feeling anxious. So I usually get tingling feelings in my hands and my feet, and heart starts racing, and I have trouble breathing. Even now, recounting all of this, I'm actually getting quite worked up. That's why you'll see if I'm a bit agitated. So it started that way. I took my medication because I could feel it started coming on pretty quickly. I tried all the breathing exercises, the mindfulness exercises that I'd learned to try and center myself. Those were not working, and also those generally don't help me that much. And I kind of discovered why later on. But basically, the panic attack escalated to the point where I pretty much could not breathe. I was hyperventilating, and I even lost consciousness. I passed out for, let's say, about a second or two, which doesn't seem like much, but when you're standing up somewhere and you lose consciousness or pass out, your legs give out, everything. So luckily my girlfriend was there with me, and she caught me before I actually hit the ground, and I regained consciousness. But that happened about once or twice. It was probably, like I said, the worst I've ever had. my brain was going a mile a minute, and I didn't know what was happening with my body because it was the worst I'd ever experienced. I couldn't walk properly. I was shaking violently, uncontrollably, not even just like I was getting cold, but I was literally like all I can describe it is when you see someone who has like Parkinson's or something, but even more extreme than that. So again, I took the medication I'm used to taking. I did all the things. I took a hot shower and it subsided. It didn't go away totally. At that point, again, like I was saying, I was having shortness of breath, I was having chest pains, and because it was so severe, I didn't know what was going on. So my initial thought is maybe this isn't a panic attack, maybe this is something worse. Again, because we are living in a time where we are going through a global pandemic, and a lot of the symptoms of a panic attack with a shortness of breath and all of that is very similar to both a heart attack, but also symptoms that are similar to COVID. It just made me panic even more, to the point that we ended up going to the emergency room to get me checked out. When I got there, explained all my symptoms, explained what I had taken, and they took me in and they had to do an ECG to check out my heart. However, for those of you who haven't done anything or had anything happen to you, ECG checks your heart rate and everything, but you have to remain still for at least 1 minute. At that point, I was shaking so much that when I forcefully stopped my body to shake, my head started spinning, and it felt like I was going to lose consciousness again. So it was very difficult to stay still for that amount of time. So once I was actually, they gave me the first dose of the medication that I take, which was already a double dose of what I usually take. That didn't stop the shaking, so they gave me a third one and they said to monitor me. That calmed me down somewhat. They were then able to do the ECG, also checking my blood oxygen levels, and doing some other tests on other organs, which all came back with that. Firstly, there's nothing wrong with my heart, thank God. I had no problems there. I was receiving 100% oxygen to my lungs, which, even though I do smoke, was firstly surprising to me. And again, there was nothing wrong with my lungs, so that kind of ruled out any COVID symptoms and any heart-related symptoms. So it definitely was just my anxiety, and I just was having a very severe panic attack. By this time, I still was not totally calm, and at this point, we're about almost 2.5 hours in. So generally, a panic attack lasts between 15 minutes to half an hour, and I'd been experiencing this for 2.5 hours. So after checking all of that, I still was not calm. I was still nauseous. I was still dizzy. They ended up giving me then another double dose. So by now, this time, I had already taken one before I'd left home, and then they'd given me 5 times the amount of dose, or 5 times my usual dose at the hospital. So I'd say I'd taken 6 times what I'd usually take, which is not lethal or dangerous or anything. With this medication, the dosage I do take, you can actually take up to 10 times what I usually take, as the maximum, but I still had to be monitored by the nurses just in case anything was going on. So at about roughly the 3-hour mark, I eventually calmed down, and because my body was so exhausted, I passed out, fell asleep. It wasn't I took about a 20-minute nap at the hospital. Eventually got cleared to go. They said they could continue to watch over me. But at that point, it was myself and my girlfriend at the hospital, and she had basically just put on whatever she could find just to get me to the hospital. So she was sitting waiting for me in a shorts and a t-shirt, and this was at like 3 a.m. So and I was dressed in a onesie and my robe, and I didn't want to leave her sitting there by herself cold. So again, like, I would not have gotten to that point if it wasn't for her. I don't praise her enough for it, but she's a fucking champion and getting me there. Also knowing that we had no medical aid or medical insurance, that it would be pretty pricey to go to a private hospital just to get me checked out. That didn't matter at all to her. Because as far as you all know, I'm currently unemployed. So it did, hit the finances a bit hard, but that's besides the point. So after that, the very next, so that happened on the Friday night, Thursday night. The Friday after that, my entire body was like I had been to the gym the day before. So not only were my muscles sore, but very weak. Like just normal walking around the house was difficult. My legs were still shaking, just because of the amount of violent shaking I was doing while having the panic attack. But I later discovered that actually when your body goes through that, it basically initiates the fight or flight. So your whole body is flushed with adrenaline, which is generally supposed to only last for a certain amount of time. Now, with a 3-hour panic attack, it was multiple times of my body being pumped full of adrenaline, and that just burnt me out totally. So yeah, the next 2 days or so were like my body was just not working properly. Like I couldn't, I had to kind of hold onto the wall or something to walk properly, because every time I walked around, I felt like my legs were going to give out. So like I said, it was an emotional thing, but because of everything that happened, it became a massive physical thing. The following Monday, I went to see my psychiatrist about this, and he agreed that we should switch over to a different medication to try and combat this, which we did. And that's why for the last 3 weeks, if any of you have seen any of my streams have been a lot shorter, and also for the last 2 weeks I have not streamed at all, basically because the new medication, although it has been really good at combating my anxiety and keeping it very low so that I have not gotten anywhere near the point of having a panic attack. I have gotten worked up and anxious over some issues, some things that have happened, but nowhere near what I would usually experience. However, because of the other medication that I was now off, my depression started cropping back up. So we were combating anxiety, which was the immediate issue. However, the depressive side, which is again the voice in my head that tells me I'm worthless and a piece of shit and not worthy of anything, kind of started getting a lot louder again. Add to that the fact that the new medication, one of the side effects is fatigue. I really did not feel like doing anything. I got tired very easily. That's why I was in bed most of the time, sleeping for about 12 hours a day, which I'm still kind of doing. Some days I can push through a bit longer, other days I can't. I tend to just, between doing tasks, even small tasks, I'll just, if I have to sit down and wait for something to happen, say putting on the kettle to make a cup of coffee, more than once I have just fallen asleep waiting for the kettle to boil. So That's not been fun, like waiting for the kettle to boil and then taking a 2-hour nap and waking up 2 hours later, which is again not good for being productive at all. So hence me not doing anything whatsoever. No content creation, no working on roadmaps for future content. Like I said, the streams became shorter and shorter until I just couldn't anymore. Add to the fact that I was also feeling depressed, and anyone who knows how depression works with self-worth issues, it's a vicious cycle that you feel too depressed to do anything, so therefore you don't get stuff done, and then that self-actualizes as you thinking to yourself that you're lazy and you're not putting in the effort and you're not worth it, which makes you more depressed and makes you want to do less things. So it just keeps going and going. Hence me only making this video now. And again, like I said, as I'm making this, I am still actually quite anxious to make this video. And yeah, it took a lot. I'm actually recording this at like 1 a.m. Just because I could no longer just sit and do nothing. I had to force myself to do this. But the whole point is I wanted to bring some more awareness to people that suffer from anxiety. And I've later now been diagnosed with what is called a panic disorder. So not only does that mean, my anxiety is really high, a panic disorder is basically an additional fear of when you're going to have your next panic attack. So it explains a lot of why I had such severe panic attacks, because when it came on, I knew it was coming, which made me more anxious. Also, people with panic disorders, part of my brain is, or the part of your brain that is perceptive to change, not just change outside you, but change in your own body for the most part, is hyper aware, which explains why, as soon as something small goes wrong in my body, even if I have stomach cramps from, eating too much, or I get slightly winded from doing something, my body or my brain is hyper aware of that, and that causes my anxiety to escalate. It also doesn't help that I'm hypersensitive in that way with the depression, because it kind of just makes that internalized voice louder, because I notice every little thing that's happening around me in my body, and I overanalyze everything. So the slightest thing that goes wrong, or even not as I intended to, I supremely and extremely overanalyze those things. So the bad part about it is that I had to go through this experience and, feel that panic attack, like I said, that I've never felt before. The good thing is there's a side diagnosis to why I'm actually getting these more severe panic attacks, and why I'm so hypersensitive to so many things. It's also like a weird reason why I stopped drinking a long time ago, just because the feeling of being tipsy made me get anxious, and I didn't realize why, because alcohol is supposed to be a depressant, it's supposed to relax you, but because of this hypersensitivity, my body would notice the change, and that would send alarm bells to that part of my brain to say, hey, something is not right, and therefore I'd get anxious. So yeah, I just wanted to create more awareness about anxiety and people who suffer from panic disorders, that sometimes depression, as bad as it is, can also be the only thing a lot of people worry about. And when people hear about anxiety, or what a lot of people refer to as general anxiety, they look at that as a lesser illness, and I can tell you it is not at all lesser. especially when it manifests in physical symptoms. And basically that night, because I had no idea what was going on, I 100% legitimately thought I was going to die. And those are even the things I said to my girlfriend. I said, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening to me. I just don't want to die. And that was absolutely fucking terrifying. So yeah, that is why I haven't been doing much of anything lately. The new medication that I'm on, my body is still adjusting to, so I'm really just trying to put in some extra effort into willing myself to do stuff. I will be posting some other usual content stuff, probably either in the next couple of hours or tomorrow. Stuff that I've wanted to do over the last couple of weeks, my usual reaction videos, and I've purposefully not watched those trailers and things just so I could do this. It's obviously very late and will not get many views on it, but again, it's not something that I'm doing for views at this moment. It's something I'm doing for myself to know that I can try and get back into the rhythm of things. And as always, I also want to say to anyone watching this that does battle with any of these things, that does suffer from any of these things, I understand. I know what it's like, and I know how difficult it can be to explain to everyone else what you're going through, because I myself did not know what was happening to me at the time. All I can say is that if you do feel this way, if you do have such severe panic attacks, for your own peace of mind, get yourself checked out. If you do feel it could be something wrong with your heart or your lungs or brain or anything else, I would say do just get yourself checked out, just to give yourself that peace of mind. Because now I know when I start getting anxious, I may know what's coming, but I also know that it is just the anxiety and not something else wrong in my body, which probably coupled with the medication made a massive difference to the outcome. So since being on this new medication, I have not had a single panic attack. I've obviously felt anxious, like I said before, but not a single full-on panic attack at all. I will definitely be trying to upload more content here. I've been trying to also be more active on TikTok, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, TikTok, such a bullshit thing, but I've found a lot of helpful things on there, and I found that it's a way of very short form sharing things like this, where I can still do long videos here, but sharing some more short form stuff there, and also requires maybe a little bit less effort, so that voice in the back of my head can't keep telling me that I'm worthless and useless and don't do anything. So if I make small short form things, I still feel like I've accomplished something, and hopefully those things can either bring insight or entertainment to anyone watching. So if you've gotten this far, thank you very much for watching and listening to this part of my story. If anything changes, I will update you. Again, no promises on my activity on here, but I'm definitely going to try and put up more content. I have a lot of plans for content, but previously, because of the anxiety, it kind of stopped me doing that. Now with the depression getting a bit more severe again, that is also stopping me following through. But you'll also be maybe happy to hear that I have started therapy with a psychologist as well, which will hopefully start bearing fruit, and I will start being able to get back to a bit of a normal way of life. So I hope to see you guys soon, hopefully on the stream. I do notice that a lot of people that do come in and watch my streams have no idea that I have a YouTube video, even though I plug it as much as possible. So if you guys could, not only for me to get some exposure, but also for anyone battling with these things, if you could like this video, comment down below. It helps with the algorithm. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do that if you can. And also, if possible, share this video wherever you can, just so that the message can also get out. And like I said, you know, a little more exposure for me doesn't hurt either. So thank you very much for listening for all of this. I hope you guys have a great day, as you'll probably only see this sometime tomorrow. And I will speak to you guys again soon. Bye for now.